also turned down contestant number 2 from The Office. That is, of course, David Brent.
Hey.
Oh. Who the fuck's that?
Who are you?
Wanker.
Good day and good night. Welcome to the High and Low Retrospective, where we press rewind and revisit the series that left their fingerprints all over television history, whether they were underappreciated gems or generation-defining cultural juggernauts. Today, we're stepping into the beige-carpeted purgatory of Wernham Hogg Paper Company in Slough, Berkshire, in good old England. That's right, we're talking about The Office, the original Office, the one that brought the awkward silence, the deadpan stares, and that excruciating secondhand embarrassment to the small screen long before Michael Scott and his Scranton branch ever opened for business. But how did a humble British sitcom with no laugh track and no studio audience redefine television comedy? And how did it spark one of the most successful American remakes of all time? Let's go back to the beginning, and then we'll talk about the Brits, the Americans, and who did it better.
What is in there? It's my stapler. Well, don't do that.
The early 2000s were a transitional period for television. In the US, comedies were still living in the shadows of multi-camera giants like Friends, Seinfeld, Everybody Loves Raymond, and Will and Grace. Laugh tracks were standard, studio audiences were the norm. In the UK, sitcoms were long entrenched in dry wit and social realism. Think Absolutely Fabulous, I'm Alan Partridge, or Spaced. But no one was quite prepared for The Office, a single-camera, fly-on-the-wall introspective comedy. Created by Ricky Gervais and Stephen Merchant, The Office debuted in 2001 on BBC Two to modest ratings and confusion. Was it a documentary? Was David Brent an actual person? Was this even supposed to be funny? The answer is yes, and painfully so.
Oh, good jolly
There's
farm.
Keenan, hello.
Hi, baby, it's Anne.
Yeah.
Are you, going to bring the toys again?
On the surface, The Office is about life at a dull paper company, Wernham Hogg, in Slough. But really, it was about the absurdity of everyday existence, the discomfort of forced social dynamics, and the quiet tragedies that unfold in fluorescent-lit cubicles. It wasn't a sitcom that chased punchlines. It sat in the awkward pause between words, and that's where it thrived. David Brent, played by Ricky Gervais, is the regional manager who sees himself as an entertainer first, boss second, if at all. He wants to be loved, respected, and admired, but he's oblivious to how cringeworthy his attempts at camaraderie are. His need for validation becomes both comic and tragic, especially as he begins to lose control of his department and status at the company. Tim Canterbury, portrayed by Martin Freeman, is the relatable heart of the show. He's smart, he's funny, and deeply disillusioned. His on-again, off-again flirtation with receptionist Dawn Tinsley, played by Lucy Davis, serves as the show's emotional core. They represent the classic will they, won't they dynamic, but with a uniquely British restraint. So much is left unsaid that when things do happen, they hit harder. Gareth Keenan, played by Mackenzie Crook, is Tim's foil. He's the self-appointed assistant to the regional manager. He's obsessed with rules, military protocol, and his own inflated sense of authority. Tim's pranks on Gareth, putting his stapler in Jell-O, for example, moving his desk is another example. They offered some of the show's biggest laughs, while also underscoring the petty coping mechanisms that make office life tolerable. While the day-to-day office life provides the setting, the show gradually builds arcs around Brent's declining authority, the looming threat of downsizing, and the unspoken desire among the characters to escape mediocrity. The final two-part Christmas special wraps things up with a surprising amount of grace and emotional payoff, giving Brent a moment of self-awareness and Tim and Dawn a moment of resolution. It's not just a comedy, it's a character study disguised as one, and in only 14 episodes, it managed to say more about office life and the people stuck in it than some shows are able to say in a decade.
He got this job behind the scenes at this radio station, and he immediately rightly realised he didn't know what he was doing and that he should get an assistant who could kind of cover for him, basically. And I happened to have sent my resume because I was trying to get into radio. I'd done some radio at college, and he hired me out. And I used to joke that it was probably because he's so lazy and my resume was the first one on the pile.
The story goes that Ricky Gervais was working at XFM Radio when he met Stephen Merchant, an aspiring comic and producer. Merchant submitted a short film as part of a BBC training program that featured Gervais playing a version of the David Brent character. BBC execs took a chance, giving them a pilot. They shot it like a fly-on-the-wall documentary, a decision that seemed bizarre at the time, but added layers of realism that made it a game changer. Gervais and Merchant weren't aiming for belly laughs. They were going for recognition, for empathy, for squirming silence, and it worked. Over time, audiences came around, and so did the critics. The Office won a Golden Globe for Best Comedy Series, the first non-American show to do so. Gervais won for Best Actor, and from niche to phenomenon, The Office went global. When NBC announced an American remake in 2005, fans of the original rolled their eyes. How could anyone match the nuance of David Brent? How could they recreate the delicate tension of a British office? But after a shaky first season, the American version of The Office found its own identity. Steve Carell's Michael Scott evolved from a David Brent clone to something warmer, more childlike, and heartbreakingly human. The ensemble cast, led by Rainn Wilson, John Krasinski, Jenna Fisher, Ed Helms, Mindy Kaling, they turned Scranton into a sitcom icon. And yes, it ran for 9 seasons. It had highs and lows, but it worked. The debate still rages, though. Which version is better? Purists swear by the UK version's brevity and brilliance. American fans love the depth, longevity, and arcs, but here's the thing. Both versions can coexist. The success of one elevated the reputation of the other. One is the blueprint, the other is the remix that took over the world.
Gareth, have you got a license to carry that?
Portable phone.
My baby's gone. She's not dead.
The success of The Office led to a flood of mockumentary-style comedies. Arrested Development, Parks and Recreation, Modern Family, Abbott Elementary, even What We Do in the Shadows. There were contemporaries that, in my opinion, benefited from the success of The Office, shows like Trailer Park Boys, The Bernie Mac Show, Ali G in the House. Gervais and Merchant's DNA is everywhere. And like any trendsetter, they didn't stick around to milk it. They left before the formula got stale. Other remakes tried to capture the same alchemy, the in-betweeners, Skins, even Shameless. Some succeeded, many didn't, but The Office stands apart because it tapped into something universal, the awkwardness of being human. Martin Freeman went on to star in Peter Jackson's Hobbit film trilogy. He was also Watson in BBC's Sherlock, starring Benedict Cumberbatch, and he starred in the first season of Fargo on FX, alongside Billy Bob Thornton. I love that season. Mackenzie Crook became a beloved character as Ragetti alongside Johnny Depp's Captain Jack Sparrow in Pirates of the Caribbean. He also created Detectorists, a great comedy that ran for 8 seasons on BBC 4. Lucy Davis showed up in Shaun of the Dead and Wonder Woman 1984. And Ricky Gervais, well, he became a global comedy force. Extras, Afterlife, his stand-up specials, his famously controversial and hugely entertaining stints as host of the Golden Globes. Those beautifully toxic monologues are the stuff of Hollywood legend. And then there's Stephen Merchant. Well, he continued creating smart comedies like Hello Ladies and even stepped into dramatic territory, co-writing Fighting with My Family and creating The Outlaws. The success of The Office, it built empires. It proved that comedy didn't need applause to make noise.
Pathetic.
Is it?
With all that said, the question is, where does the original Office stand in the pantheon of great comedies? It's short, sharp, and endlessly influential. It redefined what workplace comedies could be. It made awkwardness a narrative tool, and it showed that endings matter. The Office didn't overstay its welcome. It left us wanting more, not less. Whether you prefer the British bite or the American heart, you're still watching the ripple effect of a show that changed everything. So that's the High and Low Retrospective on The Office, the British Office, the original Office, a show that looked at the mundane and made it poetic, awkward, and oddly profound. If you've never seen it, do yourself a favor, watch all 14 episodes and see where it all started. If you've already seen it, maybe it's time to revisit Slough. Let me know what you think in the comments. Thanks for liking, subscribing, commenting, and join us again for more deep dives into the shows and cultural moments that define generations. Until next time, stay curious, stay nostalgic, And remember,
Comedy is a place where the mind goes to tickle itself.